I now call on the Minister for Youth and Sports, Honorable Justice Okuru, to deliver his second statement.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Members of Parliament, and my fellow citizens. First, I thank the Honorable Member for his comments and so for being so emotional in his contribution. But I was there grieving with the family, and I never saw him. When you want to come and talk in Parliament, you have to be there with the family in their difficult times. The difficult times when they go through, we have to be there with them. That's to be seen, to be sharing the sadness, the loss that they're going through. The Honourable Member has always been trying to be a champion of youth in this House, but I've never seen him in any of our youth programs. I don't know which youth clubs he belongs to. So it's very important that we come and talk in Parliament, and you act on what you say. We are talking to the people of Fiji. Honourable Speaker, I rise today with immense gratitude and purpose to share with this esteemed House the outcomes of an inspiring journey that began with a simple yet powerful idea. An idea birthed from a collective commitment during the Pacific Youth Ministers meeting under the concept of casting the net anew. This transformative journey evolved into the Christmas on the Park program in December of 2024 and further blossomed into the Easter on the Park program held on March 2025. It gives me great pride to announce that this initiative is now shaping into a comprehensive model for the rehabilitation of street dwellers and children in Fiji. Today, I wish to present the achievements of the Easter on the Park program and the vision it paves for the future of youth development in our beloved nation. Casting the net anew. Honourable Speaker, it is important to reflect on how this initiative began. At the Pacific Youth Ministers meeting hosted here in Fiji 2024, ministers recognized that youth work must evolve to become more inclusive, more compassionate, and more innovative. The concept of casting the net anew was adopted to reach the unreachable, to embrace those marginalized by society, and to rebuild the broken pathways for young people living on the fringes. This was not merely a slogan. It became our call to action. The Ministry of Youth and Sports, inspired by this vision, took the bold step of organizing the first ever Christmas on the Park event in December of 2024, reaching out to the street kids and marginalized youths in Suva. The success and overwhelming impact of Christmas on the Park laid the foundation for an even more expensive project, Easter on the Park. Honourable Speaker, allow me to briefly recap the Christmas initiative. Held at Ratusukuna Park, Christmas on the Park brought together government agencies, NGOs, faith-based organizations, private sector partners, and volunteers in a joint mission to share love, food, gifts, entertainment, and most importantly, hope with the street dwellers and vulnerable youths. Key highlights included over 150 youth and children reached, provision of warm meals, clothing, and hygiene kits, counseling sessions by volunteer professionals at respective rehabilitation shelters, inspirational testimonies from former street dwellers who turned their lives around, Christmas carols and fellowship sessions reinforcing the spirit of community. Christmas on the Park was more than a charity event. It became a movement of hope, a restoration and belonging. It taught us valuable lessons and unveiled even greater opportunities for intervention and systematic support. Easter on the Path, building on success. Honorable Speaker, riding on the momentum of Christmas on the Park, the ministry expanded the concept through the Easter on the Park program. This time, we reached out to youths and street dwellers in the Western Division, particularly targeting Lautoka and Nandi, areas experiencing rising numbers of vulnerable youth populations. Key features of Easter on the Park. 1, holistic rehabilitation focus. Beyond providing meals and entertainment, Easter on the Park introduced health screenings, life skills workshops, spiritual nurturing, counseling, pathways to vocational training and employment. Second, community integration. Easter on the Park deliberately involved local youth clubs, churches, NGOs, medical teams, and businesses. Ownership by the community was emphasized. Third, sustained follow-up mechanism. Unlike Christmas on the Park, Easter on the Park launched a systematic data collection process capturing basic profiles, needs and aspirations of the youth and street children who attended. Fourth, pathway to programs. Many participants were linked immediately to ministry-led initiatives such as Skills for Life Training Program, counseling and health referrals, and employment opportunities. Achievements and the impact of Easter on the Park. Honorable Speaker, allow me to share some of the key outcomes achieved through the Easter on the Park program. The outreach numbers. Over 50 street youths, adults and children were reached across Lautoka and Nandi. All completed full registration forms, enabling targeted follow-up to undertake the ministry's Easter on the Park program. Health and wellness intervention. All these youths underwent voluntary health screenings, including checks for TB, STIs, and nutrition assessments. Referrals were made for those needing urgent medical attention. Third, education and skill pathways. 49 youths enrolled in the ministry's Skills for Life training. The training included Seeds of Success, sexual reproductive health rights, skills training, youth camp, inclusive and diverse strategic planning program, and finally, a safe house rehabilitation. 16 youths have been reintegrated back to their families. 9 youths are coming from their homes. 24 youths are currently in a safe home in Tau village. Fourth, employment and livelihood opportunities. Partnerships with the employers in Nandi and Lautoka led to 2 youths gaining casual employment post-event. 7 youths under 25 years will be sponsored by Viti Roofing to attend carpentry course at Nandawe. 5 youths are waiting for employment with Viti Roofing. The rest of the youths will be going through a mini job fair to link them to the employers, to the Ministry of Employment. On spiritual and emotional healing, faith-based organizations played a vital role in conducting prayer sessions, sharing inspirational messages, and offering ongoing mentoring to interested youth. The Methodist Church of Fiji, through Reverend Elias Akoroi, did wonders in the spiritual empowerment of the youth. We wish to thank the MYF of Lautoka Division for allowing our street dwellers to be part of their Easter camp. 6, on community network strengthening, Easter on the Park resulted in the formation of the Western Street Kids and Youth Club, community-based platform that will help support ongoing interventions. Challenges encountered. Honourable Speaker, while we celebrate the achievements, it is important to acknowledge the challenge faced. 1, mobility and transience. Many street dwellers are highly mobile. Having them at a particular venue will always be a challenge. Substance abuse, perhaps 1 or 2 of the participants struggle with substance addiction. This may require specialized interventions beyond the ministry's current capacity. 3rd, family reunification complexities. Attempts to reunite some youth with families revealed underlying issues of abuse, neglect, or extreme poverty. 4th, resource limitations. Scaling up such programs requires sustainable financial, human, and technical resources. Lessons learned. Honourable Speaker, the Easter on the Park experience reinforced several lessons. 1, street youth need not just charity, but dignity and opportunity. Holistic partnerships are critical. Government alone cannot achieve success. Consistency and long-term engagement are necessary to rebuild trust. Youth themselves must be empowered to be part of the solution, not just recipients of aid. Easter on the Park is a rehabilitation model. Honourable Speaker, given the measurable success of the Easter on the Park program, the Ministry of Youth and Sports is now formalizing it into a model for street youth rehabilitation. The proposed model will include regular outreach events, quarterly events in different towns and cities to maintain momentum, comprehensive profiling, development of a national database for street youth, ensuring interventions are data-driven. 3rd, integrated support system, health, education, and skills training, spiritual, social, home reintegration, and economic support pathways. Case management approach for personalized rehabilitation plans. 4th, youth champions, recruitment and training of former street dwellers as peer mentors. Safe homes, participants' accommodation and further nurturing and empowerment in safe homes. We are working with other ministries and stakeholders to acquire safe houses where we can keep the youth while they go through their rehabilitation program. Strategic alignment. Honourable Speaker, this model supports several key national and regional strategies. Fiji's National Development Plan, building inclusive, resilient communities, Pacific Youth Development Framework 2031, leaving no youth behind, and SDGs 1, 3, 4, 8, and 16, ending poverty, promoting health, education, decent work, and peaceful societies. Honourable Speaker, this is not just a youth initiative. It is a nation-building exercise. Our future plans, Honourable Speaker, building on this momentum, the Ministry's next steps include institutionalizing Easter on the Park as an annual national event, securing budgetary support through government and development partners, developing a national strategy on street youth rehabilitation, piloting transitional shelters or safe homes for youths ready to exit street life, scaling up volunteer mobilization to sustain grassroots support. In conclusion, Honourable Speaker, the journey from casting the net anew to Christmas on the Park and now Easter on the Park epitomizes the Ministry's commitment to innovation, compassion, and inclusivity in youth development. We are not merely celebrating events, we are laying foundations for lasting change. We are demonstrating that with faith, commitment, and collective effort, every youth, no matter how marginalized, can find hope, dignity, and opportunity. Allow me, Honourable Speaker, to reflect on a powerful story from the scripture that has guided and inspired this journey. In the Gospel of John, chapter 31, we read of the moment when the risen Christ appears to his disciples. After a long night of fishing, catching nothing, Jesus instructs them to cast their nets on the right side of the boat. In obedience, through weary and uncertain, they cast their nets and caught a multitude of fish so abundant that they could scarcely haul the net ashore. This story teaches us several profound lessons. Firstly, it reminds us that despite our best efforts, success requires a fresh approach, guided by divine wisdom. Secondly, it shows that obedience to a new vision, even if it defies our tired expectations, can yield miraculous results. And thirdly, it assures us that when we act in faith and unity, the harvest is plentiful. In the same spirit, Honourable Speaker, we in the Ministry have cast our net anew, not in the traditional waters, but into the streets, into the hidden corners of our communities, where forgotten youths dwell. And just as the disciples' net was filled to overflowing, so too have our humble efforts been blessed with fruitfulness beyond measure. Let us continue casting our net with the courage and compassion. Let us continue believing that every street dweller, every marginalized youth is a soul worth saving, a life worth lifting, and a future worth fighting for. May the spirit of Easter, of resurrection, renewal, and restored hope remain alive in our actions, policies, and hearts as we move forward together, leaving no one behind. Honourable Speaker, I thank you and Vinabali.
I thank Honourable Justice Okuru for his ministerial statement. I will now call on the Leader of the Opposition or his designate for their response. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In replying to the ministerial statement, I found it quite amusing as the minister was talking about Easter and talking about youth, and then to have a go at a youth member of this parliament that pointed out ways in which lives could be saved. I think that was belittling. You have too many old daddy-faddies there. You need to listen to the youth that are on this side. To say that people are not there, he had a go, and I will say what I want in my 5 minutes. I have the right to do that. Instead, members of the opposition did not go. They went. They didn't have people to take shots of them for the sake of publicity. They went there to express their condolences. So we have to be very careful what we say. We don't have people taking shots of where we are going just to publicize for that fact. When you're talking about Easter, remember the spirit of Easter. Before you start denigrating a youth member of parliament that represents that the youth of this country look up to, need to think about what you're doing. Mr. Speaker, sir, the minister has talked about the Ministry of Youth and Sports launching the Christmas on the Park and what it has done in terms of the East on the Park that was held in March 2025 in Lotok and Nandi with the focus on holistic rehabilitation. And I congratulate the Ministry for doing that. We all know the problems that we have with the youth, and I commend them for that. So all these initiatives, and I'm glad to see that there has also been, I think one of the problems that we always had in the past, we do a lot of big events and then we report on activities, just on the activities. But really, if you want to have outcomes, it must not be based on activities. And I'm glad to see that with the ministers, they are beginning to go into case management. They've identified people, they're profiling them, they're tracking them, and I think this is a good example of a system that we need to follow through. Too many times you just do things for the sake of the salu and the photo and the whatnot, and you forget about it. Obviously, in this case, there's a lot more work that is gone into this, and I congratulate the ministry for getting into this particular program, and we look forward to it being expanded, because the reported success is not only, the number of people that were there. It'll be what happens to those people over time, the management on a case-by-case basis. And I hope that there will be collaboration here between the two different ministries of youth and Ministry of Children, because children at risk will become the youth at risk. I know you're probably working together in terms of databases and the NGOs, but it's important for us to do this so that we are very sure what the indicators of success will be. Not just the people at these events, but having some progressive enhancement in the well-being of the youth over time through a program of managing on a case-by-case basis of a number of people. And I'm glad to see the people that have taken them in. I've heard about the program at Tau Village. I know that there's one gentleman somewhere in the West who's got 30 kids, Mr. Nawanga, if I'm not mistaken. The initiative by Yandra, which is a network that is in the West, and all of these things are helping us to move towards long-term rehabilitation. Vocational training, the temporary safe homes are commendable, but they are not enough. We need permanent housing solutions and sustained support systems. Sustained support systems. Many of these children are always at the risk of returning to the streets, and that's why I've called for a case management approach for the students, for those, the youth that have gone through these particular programs. Secondly, I hope that the initiative will also need to look at the root cause of homelessness. What is it that is leading to this homelessness among our youth? Issues such as family breakdown, we know what they all are. Poverty, lack of access to education, all of these things. A holistic approach is needed, one that not only provides immediate relief, but also tackles these underlying issues head on. There needs to be, I hope that as the Minister for Finance is listening, that he's going to make sure that he allocates resources to these sorts of programs. And we have a moral obligation to protect and uplift the most vulnerable members of society. It is not enough to celebrate partial successes while so many are left behind. There are many also homeless that are in the settlements that you will not see in the towns. Settlements in the villages, the people that are left to the side, we need to demand better, we must do better. I call on government to take that immediate action to address these shortcomings. I congratulate you for the work that has been done so far, but we take it to the last mile. We must have these youth, manage them on a case-by-case basis. We need to invest in permanent housing solutions, strengthen family support systems, and ensure that every child has access to education and healthcare. Let us hold ourselves accountable to the vision of casting the net anew, a vision that promises hope and opportunity for all, not just a select few. In conclusion, I urge this House to prioritize the needs of our homeless youth. Let us work together to build, as the Minister said, a society where no one is left behind, where every young person has the opportunity to succeed, has access to